All right, so this is video number 4, and Missy Standifer from Knoxville, Tennessee has been down here with us the last couple of days, and we've just had a great time. She is consistently the top retailer and sponsor in our Premier organization and currently has the largest Premier family in our Premier organization. So we're excited to hear a little bit about her retail and what she does and some of the things that she thinks that she does before the show, during the show, and after the show that help her consistently have high retail. Thanks, Missy.
You're welcome, Eric. Okay. Well, I'm just going to give you 3 quick tips when it comes to higher or increasing your retail. The first one is before the jewelry show, you really want to try to give your hostess a vision for that show. For me, I always believe the very best about my hostess and about that show. It doesn't matter what has happened along the way. I talk to that hostess every time like I believe she's going to have a $500 to $1,000 jewelry show. In fact, when we have the 50% promotion, I never, ever, ever coach a hostess and say, so if you have a $500 jewelry show, I always say, so when you have a $500 jewelry show, in fact, let's shoot for you to have a $1,000 jewelry show. So the examples that I give to my hostess before the show, always, when it comes to numbers, I always give her a vision for a $500 to $1,000 jewelry show every time. Another thing I love to do is, when I talk to her about the amount of people that should be there, I'll say, so let's shoot to have, to get everything on your love it list, let's shoot to have a show with 10 to 15 people, Now, if down the road it looks like she's going to have 3 to 4, then you know what? I make the very best of it. And I said, we're going to have a great time. We're going to have a great show. So I don't ever make someone feel guilty, but at the very beginning, I want her to dream big from the start. And so I do that in the hostess coaching part of things. The other thing I love to do is during the show, I think there's 2 key things 3 key things, but 2 things that I really try to do is you've got to have a connection between the guests and the jewelry, and between the hostess and the jewelry. And so let me explain that. You've got to put your hostess to work. When your host is coaching her, you're going to share this with her. The night before the show, you're going to share it. And then when you arrive at her house, you're going to say this exact same thing. And I always say this. I say, you know what? If you don't remember anything that I say, remember this. Stay around the jewelry table. And I'll say, in fact, pretend like you're a jeweler. And we all know that our hostess is our #1 prospect anyway. So I'll say, stay around the jewelry table, because women are like sheep and they follow the hostess. If you're in the kitchen eating food, they're going to be in the kitchen. If you're sitting down waiting for the show to start, they're sitting down. But if you're engaging with the jewelry, let's take turns. We're a team. Use words like that. We're a team together. And if you're playing in the jewelry and saying, hey, put your purse down, come on in, and take that first 5 to 10 minutes for those girls to come in. Let them connect with you, but let you direct them as the hostess to connect with the jewelry. I always say that's a huge difference in a good and a great jewelry show. And I tell her not just to do that before the show, but to make sure that she stays around the jewelry table after the show as well. So again, the hostess is that bridge. She's connecting the girls to the jewelry and that kind of thing. The other thing, I have the same verbiage I use a lot when people come in, and I'll say, hi, what's your name? And immediately I put a name tag on them and I repeat their name multiple times because I'm not good with names. And so the more I repeat it, the more by the middle of the show, I know every person's name in that room. And so the more you say it, I think, again, it connects them to you when it comes to a booking, but it also connects them to you when it comes to retail, because they tend to feel like she knows me. Gosh, she's getting to know my style. She's getting to know a little bit about me. She cares about me as much or more than she ever cares about a sale. So I want to repeat people's names to connect with them. A couple of other things I love to say is I'll say, oh, come on in, Robin, put your purse down. And as she's walking around and kind of scanning the table, I'll say, oh, and let me tell you, Robin, just so you know, everything is try-onable. And they'll go, oh, that's cute, try-onable. And I'll say, just because you try it, it doesn't mean you have to buy it. Every time I say that, people chuckle. But you know what I think it does? it makes people automatically, it disarms people. You know, they don't feel like you're like pressuring them as soon as they get in there. They think, oh, okay, well, I can just relax. So I set that kind of relaxed tone, and then I'll say, well, tell me about you. How do you know the hostess? And tell me about your style. And then you've got to have, this is one of my key things about retail, you have to have sound bites, okay? I know that sounds crazy. But I believe that there are two things that women want to know about a piece of jewelry in order for her to buy it. Two key things. I think she wants to know, what does this piece do? You know, what's the versatility in this, the cost per wear? And the second thing is, does it look good on her, okay? And if you can develop sound bites, you don't have to sound like you work for the jewelry television, because they don't care if it's a 36-inch, 18-inch, silver gold plated, blah, blah, blah. You know, let me give you an example, and I'm going to give you 3 or 4 key sound bites that I use for some of the current pieces and some of the pieces we've already, or the new pieces and pieces we've had. Okay, so like the inner strength bracelet, during my jewelry show, and even prior to the show, I give these sound bites. If a woman picks up that bracelet, I'll go, oh my gosh, what do you think about that? And I'll say, that is my favorite piece. And I'll say, I love pieces with meaning, don't you? And she'll say, yes. And so then later in the show, and I don't give my whole sound bite, but later in the show, when I hold that bracelet up, I'll say, how many of you know a woman who's accomplished something big or been through something and come through the other side? And I'll say, this bracelet is for her. And I'll say, or in fact, you might be that woman. So you need to try this bracelet on, and I'll read the little message. So see, that's a sound bite. That's something that she's going, oh, my sister just went through breast cancer and she's a survivor, and oh, you know, you don't have to name those situations, but just give the sound bite. Like the spiffy bracelet, that's a great seller. I'll say, now how many of you have a leather wrap bracelet? And they raise their hand. And I'll say, how many of you are tired of that leather wrap bracelet? And a few people will. And I'll say, well, listen, if you want a great alternative with a little pop of color, and then I'll put it on, I'll say, then try the spiffy bracelet. And I'll show, oh, it makes a great watch buddy, and you can pair it with stack-tastic bangles and things like that. Another great sound bite, you got to learn to have new sound bites with each collection, and then you got to learn to revive some old sound bites, because you know, daisy chain may not be new to you, but it is new to a lot of people, and it's very current and relevant for this season. So when a woman looks at daisy chain, which I have been reselling again a lot lately, I'll say, she'll look at it on the table or during the fashion show, and I'll say, you know what, I love this because it's a finished piece. You know, and I'll say, look at that, and I'll kind of do my hand like this. I'll say, you know, when you move, the design isn't lost. It's always there on either side, and they go, ooh. And you know what, I know this sounds crazy, but people remember your sound bites. You know, the Laura necklace, I'll say, you know the old saying, less is more? Yeah, well, that's what this piece is like. You could wear scrubs to work every day. You could still get away with the Laura necklace. People who are wearing scrubs all just perked up their ears, who wrote the whole jewelry show off because they can't wear jewelry during the day and went, what did you say? So I'm just telling you, you got to have your own sound bites, whatever they are. My final little tip for the night is spoil your customers. I cannot stress this enough. And let me tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to tell you how to do that, or one of the ways I do that. I had a jewelry show years ago, one of my very first shows, with women who had incredible expendable income. And I remember they would literally hand me their order form and say, here, can you fill this out? And they said, I want one of these and 2 of these and 1 of these. And I was like, yes, ma'am, you know, and I was writing it all down on their order form. And I remember thinking, they're not even looking at the catalog, you know? This is incredible. And I felt like when we talk about the phrase personal shopper, it was like a lightning bolt went off in my head, and I thought, that is exactly what I am to these women right here, because they're used to that. But then I stopped and thought, you know what? This should not be a feeling that is exclusive only to people who have expendable income. I should treat every customer that I have, every guest that comes to that show, like I am truly their personal shopper, whether they have a small amount of income or just like those women, they have expendable income. And so one of the ways I spoil my customers is I'll say at the end of the show, I'll say, now all of you have a love it list, and I know it's very long, and you got to have a love it list too, by the way. That's a huge high retail selling thing that helps you with that. But I'll say, I know a lot of you have a love it list. And so when you decide the piece or pieces that you want, see, I'm assuming they have several of those. I'll say, just fill out the top of the order form and bring me your order form, and I'll fill it all in for you. Okay? I do that with everybody. Now, for a brand new jeweler, that might be a little stressful, but if you've been there, done that for several years, or you're real familiar with the collection after 6 months to a year, I think anybody can do this. And here's why. I think when you make a woman feel like that you're going to handwrite her order out for her, it takes a lot of the stress off for her. But do you know how many times you can talk to a woman about her order? Each of those people you can discuss, oh, if she's still on the fence about a piece or a set or a collection and I'm the one filling out her order form, I can dialogue with her. But if she fills that order form out and she comes up and hands it to me, it's pretty much a done deal. So it's part of spoiling them. And I don't know, I just think it makes people feel special. It takes the stress off, and it also gives you a chance to really weigh in on their order. So spoil your hostesses, love on your customers, spoil them as well, and good luck. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Missy.